Hello and welcome to True Audio Files. Today I'm going to talk about the much talked about Black Friday Record Store Day list that came out this week. Heard a lot of comments like I usually do almost every record store day that there's virtually nothing on there, it's an awful list, and so on and so forth. And, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff on there that I'm definitely interested in. There's definitely stuff on there that I would like to get that I'm not probably going to get because there's just too much stuff on there that I want. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a list that is awesome or great, but it's certainly got enough on there for me to be interested in. And we'll go over some of the stuff that's on there in a little bit more detail to give you some ideas of some of the things that are on there. But there's the usual suspects that are on there, like there's over, I think, 20 live releases that are on there. Things from like the Allman Brothers, Dickie Betts, Buffalo Springfield and the Byrds, Cypress Hill, Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia, Cat Stevens, Snoop Dogg, Rage Against the Machine, Van Halen. The Van Halen one, for those of you who are curious, is the audio from the video that came out on the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge Deluxe Box Set Edition. So it's basically that concert. But anyways, there's Cecil Taylor, Sun Ra, Cat Stevens, and a bunch of others. And I'm certainly not going to cover all of the stuff that's on here. I don't want to make this an hour-long show, but I'd be interested in knowing what you guys are looking most forward to on Record Store Day and what your opinion is of the list. I know that, again, a lot of people are not a huge fan of the list, but I think there's enough on there for a bunch of people to be interested in. There's also the typical picture discs, stuff like Steve Martin and T-Rex as picture discs are on there, and a few others. Some demo, previously unreleased, outtake, Rarities albums. Some that are of interest are stuff like Joni Mitchell, Morphine, Stone Temple Pilots, U2. U2's kind of re-releasing How to Assemble a Bomb, and they're calling it How to Reassemble a Bomb. So basically, I think it's a remastering of the album plus a bunch of rarities and outtakes on released stuff. My favorite one that I think I'm definitely going to get is going to be the Stone Temple Pilots Purple Rarities. Just because Purple is one of my favorite albums of all times, and I'm pretty sure I already have most of this stuff digitally, but it's going to be the first time it's available on vinyl, so something I'm pretty curious about. And yes, their Fragile album, they're going to have some they're calling it outtakes, but there are Steven Wilson remixes and things like that on the album. But and then there's some box sets like Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood singles box set, and War 1977 to 1994 box set as well. So, those are kind of the highlights of this typical stuff you see on Record Store Day. Some other kind of semi-typical, but not incredibly typical, is the Beatles. They're coming out with another 3-inch single, coming with a case, carrying case. They're also going to have a 7-inch single that's going to be coming out. Some of the other things I've seen that are becoming more and more prevalent, I should say, during these Record Store Days is isolated vocal track options or instrumental versions of the albums. One of the big ones that's coming out this time around is Billie Eilish's. Her last album, Hit Me Hard and Soft, is going to have an isolated vocals version of the album, but I just can't imagine having that on vinyl. It's just going to be, it better be pressed really well, or else there's going to be a lot of background noise, and I think that's a better one suited for digital, but that's just my personal take. But there's some other stuff, like some cover albums, which is becoming more prevalent as well. Garbage is going to be having a cover album coming out on Record Store Day called Copy Paste. Herbie Hancock is going to have a duets album, or it's a 3 LP set that came out, I think, in the early 90s, called Possibilities. There's going to be a 12-inch of Jane's Addiction single, probably their last single, if you know anything about the news of Jane's Addiction and the blow-up that happened in Boston a few weeks back. They're releasing a 12-inch single of their latest track. And then there's Some other stuff. One that's kind of interesting to me as well is Jazz Sabbath. For those of you who don't know, it's basically jazz interpretations of Black Sabbath songs, and there's been two albums that have come out. The first one I really liked. The second one was okay, so I'm kind of hesitant on this one. It's called the 1968 tapes. So supposedly happening, before the first two albums that came out. Some reissues that are coming out. You got King Missile Happy Hour, which that album is notorious and infamous for the song Detachable Penis, for those of you who know. A very weird and interesting tune from the 90s. Another reissue that I'm pretty interested in, it's kind of more of a deluxe version of it that's been available digitally, just not on vinyl, is Casey Musgrave's latest album, Deeper Into the Well, it's called. It's going to have, I think it's 7 additional tracks that are put onto the vinyl. Also, kind of in a similar vein, Olivia Rodrigo Guts Spilled. She had released a version that was only available on her artist website. It looks like she's going to be releasing it as a full version out in regular stores soon. There's going to be a kind of a pre-release soup-colored version that's coming out for Record Store Day. That is going to be, I think it's purple and red or something like that, but we'll see how that comes out. I mean, it's going to be 30,000 of those. Every single one of the Olivia Rodrigo releases have sold out almost instantly. We'll see if that happens with this one too. There's supposed to be 30,000, so we'll see. But kind of a favorite of mine from my childhood, kinda, is Buck Owens is going to have a release. Max Roach Deeds Not Words is going to be, there's going to be a mono version of that coming out. We've got Rolling Stones, Get Your Yayas Out, going to be a special color version of it. Those ones are almost always really expensive. I would be surprised if that's not the case here. It's usually way overpriced. Get a original version of it and you'd be pretty happy with it, I would say. Another one that's from another artist that's I've recently been turned on to is a band called The Warning, a trio of sisters from Mexico City. They have like 3 or 4 albums that have come out, and their latest album is one of my favorites of this year by far. And one of their earlier albums, I think it was the album that came out right before this one, if I'm not mistaken. It's called Error. They're going to be re-releasing that with a couple of additional live tracks that are on there, so that sort of kind of falls into the live track thing as well. But there's a bunch of stuff out there. There's some glaring omissions that you sometimes or typically see on new release on Record Store Day that I'm sort of disappointed I'm not seeing anything from. Miles Davis typically puts something out, not always, but a lot of times. But I didn't see anything from Miles Davis on this list, which is kind of disappointing. A lot of the times what he's been doing recently has been taking, his studio box sets that he's had, like the On the Corner complete sessions, In a Silent Way complete sessions, Bitches Brew complete sessions, and he's been kind of condensing them down and putting the favorites, if you will, onto a single record set. And nothing like that this time around, so disappointed that they don't have something like that coming out for Miles Davis. Another big one for me that every once in a while you'll see from him, but I don't see anything on this list either, is from Prince, so nothing from Prince on here. But overall, I mean, there's definitely enough there for me to justify wanting to go out and pick up some stuff. I mean, there's easily 3 or 4 albums that I'm very interested in, a lot of others that I have some at least remote interest in. We'll see how the funds are come Record Store Day and whether I can feel like I can afford to spend the extra money on those extras. But I'd really like to hear your take. I gave you a rundown of a lot of the big stuff out there. I know there's still some big ones on there for some people that I didn't bring up, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. So I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for subscribing if you do subscribe. If you don't, please do so. That would be awesome of you. Hit that like button if you liked the video. Add some comments below. Let me know your thoughts. And that is everything for this episode. I want to thank you very much, and you want to have yourself a good rest of the day and a good rest of the week. Thanks a lot.